Hi, I hope you're doing well today. Thank you for stopping in. I felt compelled and inspired about some things, and I thought maybe I'd share them and probably not take too much of your time because I've got some other things to do. But this is with regard to change in our lives, and it doesn't mean so much midlife crisis change. This can be for any age, any time, in your formative years or in your maturing years. But change is difficult. It is very, very hard. First, you have to decide you want it and need it, and then you have to step in and do it. And it's difficult. And I have some things that I'm getting from the Word, from my spirit, from experience to share and see if you can relate to any of it. Looking back in my life and making changes, I've discovered that many of the things that I did, I sort of got myself into something, or I made a choice that I felt was to my best interest. And that's fine. And that is something that is expected. If you want to improve, if you want to be your personal best, or make a change, you do things. And one thing I think is very unique and not everybody can relate to is that I changed my name. My name was Jane, and I thought it sounded twangy. I thought it sounded like a guitar that was out of tune. Jane. I really didn't like it. And I had, used that name. It was my birth name, and but I wasn't fond of it. I wasn't, passionate about it. And I'll tell you how I ended up changing it, okay? When I was 19, I hitchhiked across UK, the whole entire country of Britain. And then I hitchhiked across Ireland. And it was with a couple of guys, Dan and John. And we had fun. We were all pals. It was great. Maybe at the time I was looking for Mr. Right, but actually at that time they were just fun. And when we went to a music festival, we all fell in love with the Irish music. We all decided we wanted to join up and make a band out of it. And so when we got back to the States, we formed a band called Paddywhack. And Dave Marsh is still doing it. So yay. Thanks, Dave, for keeping the torch burning. But having learned 50 jigs and reels and playing the flute in this group was really fun. Loved the music. We just did a lot of chieftains and stuff like that. So but I was disillusioned, and I didn't see how I fit in. It wasn't meant to be for me. And I remember sitting in my apartment, staring out the window like you do when you're pensive, you're perusing, you're reflecting, maybe melancholy. And I had thought, in my free spirit, I really want to pitch my name. And so I did, just in a thought, basically. And I thought I liked the name Lana. And I thought it sounded soft. It sounded better with my last name, and Lana. I went by that for 5 years. And it stuck. I used it everywhere I signed, everybody I introduced myself to, my family, my friends. Nobody seemed to really have any problem with me just sort of doing that and jumping. Maybe they didn't like the name Jane either. I don't know, but it was fun for a time. So you can see I changed. I changed my name. However, when I met my husband and he asked me to marry him, at our engagement, I had meditated on that whole issue and thought, how I really didn't like the name Lana with his last name. So the sound of it sounded kind of phony, you might say. So I thought, well, how easy that would be to, at our wedding, to just, when they announced the husband and wife, and now I pronounce you man and wife, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I would just go back to Jane at that time. No longer use the name Lana, just go back to Jane. And so on our wedding announcements, when people came in, the program, it said, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, and the son of Mr. So-and-so, and it had Jane on it. So everybody in the church that was there, that I was fellowshipping with in church, and my cousins and everything, they heard that, and it was strange. It was really strange. Then at the reception, instead of really talking about their hopes for us to have a long and happy life together, most of them were confronting me with where I got the idea, or I didn't know your name was Jane, or what's up with that. It was embarrassing, and but I got over it because I did what I wanted to do. I felt I did what I was supposed to do, and it's what I wanted on my own. And that's what life is all about, is being yourself. So that change was one I wanted to share with you. Then another change that I made was when I was 12 years old, I decided I wanted to be a vegetarian. I was babysitting, and it occurred to me that literally and graphically, when you eat a burger, yeah, you know the rest. So I was just going to cold turkey give that up. And I was not going to eat any form of meat. I was going to eat eggs and dairy products. I'm good on cheese, but the meat had to go. Told my girlfriend then, her name was Terry, and she got excited and on board. So she and I became vegetarians, and she to this day still is one. So I changed my diet for the reason of I'll say empathy for animals. It wasn't health related at all. There were no cookbooks. There were no restaurants. The word was not printed in anything. It was totally an organic idea that I had in my heart to do this. So then, okay, fast forward. I'm a vegetarian for 12 years and very strict. The next thing that happened, though, after getting married, I became pregnant, and I didn't want to go without eating meat and form a baby. The fetus and making sure it has all of its fingers and toes and limbs. I really, having not read too much into what other cultures or other people did with the vegetarian lifestyle and being pregnant, I had thought, well, for 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years, women have been pregnant and had babies perfectly easily and healthfully. So I didn't want to, be different about that. Just a minute. I'll let you in a minute. Not right now. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's all right. Come here. Here. She likes dogs. She likes dogs. There you go. That's probably my verses there. Come here. You're okay. All right. Sweetie. Sit. 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 Stay. Okay. Sit. Down. Stay. No barking. Good boy. Okay. Anyway, cooking, fun, started eating meat, the change. I remember eating my first chicken breast. I was serving chicken breast for dinner, and it was strange. But I've been a meat eater since. Okay, so I have a verse to share that goes with that. It's from Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes 12:24. Actually, no, Ecclesiastes 3:1. It says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. It makes me think of that song in the 60s, "Do everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven." There is a time for everything. And it seemed like it was a time for me to get back to healthy eating, but not worry so much about the meat issue. And the other one is Deuteronomy 31:6. "Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake thee." That was supposed to go with the name change. I mentioned when I changed my name at the wedding reception, they all, kind of asked me about that, but and didn't understand where that came from. But the Lord tells us to not be afraid or terrified because of the people. The Lord will go with us. He will never leave us or forsake us. Isn't that true? It gives you that strength inside, that strength that we need. Okay, now here's a change that really caused me a lot of grief, a lot of pain, and I carried it for years, very, very sort of guiltily. Okay, I broke up with a boyfriend that I had gone with for 4 or 5 years, and we were super close. We didn't go anywhere without each other, and it was very, very sweet. It was kind of that puppy love stuff. Well, he started getting strange, like really strange. Like he moved in with 2 women, and it was so out of character. And I lived with that whole idea for quite a while. I can remember cutting his hair on the porch one time, and the 2 girls were in the house giggling. And I thought, this is just so weird. And he had his own room and everything, and rent is not cheap. I mean, it's expensive to live and to, make your way. And I was understanding of that. You might wonder why I didn't move in with him. I was kind of conservative. I kind of wanted to be married before I moved in with the guy. I thought that was just the way I would do it. And I don't know, that's just kind of me. Okay, so then I, years later, found out that he was selling and dealing cocaine at that period in his life with one of those girls. And I didn't know it at all. I just was totally kept at bay. And so looking back on it, the change that I made in breaking up with this man and moving on, though it was the most painful thing in my life, it was the right thing. It was a good thing. I could have really been mixed up or in something that I wouldn't have even have known. And so the verse I have to go with that is Isaiah 43:19. It is, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." So he has a path for you. It is a path, and it is set, and you put your feet down on it,